Hello, this caricature is of Nelson Mandela, and this is going to be a acrylic painting caricature. I'm starting off with my normal thumbnails, and I'm just kind of moving the eyes around, seeing which one looks best in that first sketch. As you can see, I'm usually starting off with either the cheeks or the lips. That's what kind of stands out. So you see there, I'm just kind of playing with the cheeks, and I know they're circular and they're rounded, and I'm just kind of figuring out how I'm going to draw this caricature. I'm even trying a profile view of the guy. I ran into a lot of different problems. First, I wasn't really in the mood to draw. I don't know if you ever had that, but I just really wasn't in the mood. I wanted to draw, but there was nothing coming out. I just wasn't feeling it. If you want to say, it just really wasn't. Nothing was coming out right. So I did open up Nate's book, and I went through it, and I kind of drew some of his sketches that he had sketched in his book. So I kind of redrew them, and I was just practicing in that way. And but when it came to this guy, I just couldn't figure out how to draw him well. I came out with that sketch. That's the one I go with. That's the one I actually transfer onto the bigger canvas. But when I got towards the end of the transfer on the canvas, when I was penciling it in, when I got towards the end and I was just about to paint, I realized that I really didn't want to paint it. I didn't like it. I guess I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to paint it. I knew I wasn't going to be interested enough. It just wasn't interesting enough for me to paint. I just wasn't interested. And what I did is you'll see in a little bit, I just kind of threw it aside and I started over from the beginning and I started sketching again. So I fast forwarded the video. You're going to see in a little bit, it'll go straight to the canvas, like there you go. It took me a good 30 minutes, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, just to sketch it on the canvas, and there I was editing it and changing it, and there I go. I put it to the side, and I'm back to the thumbnail sketches, because what I said, towards the end of that, I just really didn't want to paint it. So there I go, trying it over again, and I think I did 3 more sketches, and on the third one, you'll see I'll slow it down a little bit. I kept the third one, or maybe might be the fourth one, but I just kept sketching the guy. It might have been a total of 10 different thumbnails, and I don't know. Eventually, it ended up taking off like a lot of his features. I took out his forehead, took out his hair, and I tried to incorporate his hair in his name, and that was almost like a very last minute thing. I wasn't sure how to incorporate that. I was just going to leave it out altogether. A few things happened with this painting, and that's the thumbnail right there. I slowed it down a little bit. That's the thumbnail I go with. That's the final thumbnail before I sketch it onto the canvas. When I did the background, I wasn't planning on keeping the background. You're gonna see me do a quick like splash or wash. It's basically a really watered down. It's almost like a watercolor. I take the black acrylic and I dab a little bit on my palette, and I add a bunch of water, and I just kind of take a big brush and just fan it all across, a nice thin layer of water across the canvas. And I wasn't planning on leaving it that way. At the end, I was gonna like go back and maybe blend some other colors in it and stuff. But my wife walked by and she said, "I really like that background." And I was like, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, it kind of goes well with his hair, because his hair is like gray and white and stuff and black." So I went ahead and left it like that. So it was just kind of like an accident. But as you can tell there with that thumbnail, I'm trying to figure out how to draw his hair, and I'm just not knowing I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of testing out the things, moving things around. I go back to the nose and to the mouth. I leave the hair alone. I figure I'll just figure it out later. So I keep going on to other features like the nose. And sometimes if I get stuck, that's what I'll do. I'll stop doing that feature and I'll go on to another feature. Sometimes I'll just put it down and make mess with it another day. And today I had time and I spent all day today doing this. So it was a lot of fun sketching and taking this day to practice. I didn't have anything else to do today. So it was a lot of fun. Let me see. These last few weeks have been really busy with if you do gigs, this is you probably already know this is like the busiest year because we're doing Christmas parties and we're drawing at different events that the corporations have and stuff. So, but today I wasn't drawing at any party. So, so here I was sketching. So I'm still I'm not sure at this point what I'm going to be doing with the hair and the forehead, but I continue working. I'm doing like the lips, and now I'm moving on to like the chin and his teeth there. But as I'm sketching at this point, in my mind, I'm thinking, I know I'm going to have to go back and draw forehead and do the hair, but I really don't. But I'm going to wait till the end because it's going to be a hard one. And at the end, I figure out, well, I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm going to eliminate that feature and just, not pay any attention to it. I'm just going to take it out and focus the exaggerations and these other features. And sometimes a lot of artists do that, and I don't do it very often. I try to exaggerate the features, and if I'm going to make something small, I make it really tiny. But I most of the time keep all the features there. I might just have them really small where you can't see them, but I don't usually take it out altogether. I don't normally do that. I think it's very creative if you can, and I guess I tried to do that this time. But it was almost like I had to because I couldn't figure out how to do his forehead anyway, so I just left it out. Towards the end, I noticed he looked a little bit younger in the painting than like the pictures show. I know there's pictures out there that show him really young and some that show him really old when he was sick and stuff. But what I did is I tried to figure out how I can add some lines, some wrinkles to make him look like older. And I just added like a wrinkle in his cheek and around the eyes, like next to his nose and his cheeks. I just added a few like lines, and then I added some wrinkles in his chin and right above his upper lip, and you'll see that I think towards the end. So I just try to figure out how to add more wrinkles, because once you take out that forehead, his forehead has a good amount of wrinkles in it. There's a large mass there, and there's all these nice wrinkles that are kind of like staggered. It's kind of weird. They don't even line up. So it would have been cool to paint those, but as you can see, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to draw that hair. I'm not necessarily trying to draw the hair that high like it's an afro. I'm just trying to, at that point I was just trying to sketch it in, just kind of figuring out how I can kind of accent it or show that there's some type of wrinkle there in the background. But you see that background in the acrylic? That's just a really light wash or a really light watered down acrylic. And like I said, I was planning on going back and just fixing it, but it dried and my wife liked it, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna leave it like that. And I was a little lazy too, to be honest. So I'm starting to add all these purples in the lip, as you can see, and adding all these browns. That brown, it's just one brown that I'm using. I had like 3 or 4. I had 2 or 3 on my palette, and I had like 4 here ready to use, but I didn't actually use them. Let me see. I used it's System 3. It's a real cheap brand. The brown is called Burnt Umber, and that's the brown that I used. And then towards the end, I tried to make it more orangey. And what I did is I got another brown. Let me see if I can find it. This one's called Burnt Sienna. I took that one and then I watered it down. I've added a bunch of water, just kind of like the way I did the background. I took the Burnt Sienna, which is a little bit more orange. It's more orangey. It's got more of an orange tint to it. It's still a brown. And what I did is I took that brown and I watered it down, and I added a real thin layer over the brown areas that I thought should be more orange or needed more orange in them. So it was almost like a watercolor on top of the acrylic. I wasn't blending it in there. I was just adding that right on top of the brown in those areas that I thought needed more orange, and then I let that dry. Um, so that's what I did. That's what I'm doing right there. Yeah, I think. No, yeah. There you go. See that really? It looks really watery. That's just like a light layer of it. So sometimes I'll put it in real thick, towards like right there. That's real thick right there, and then some areas I'll add a real light layer of it just to kind of give it a little tint. Sometimes I'll do that with the shadowing. You'll see that towards the end, like underneath the top lip. There's that skin area there in the jaws. I'll add some shadows in there to show that the top lip is kind of above that area. And I'll add what it is. It's a really light. It's a watered down black acrylic. So it's a really light watered down layer of black on top of that skin that gives it that shadow. So I'm not actually getting a brown and mixing it with black. I'm just taking some black acrylic and watering it down and adding that on top of the blended acrylic that I already have on the canvas. For the white areas, like the beige and those light areas, let me see. I'm using. By the way, all these painting stuff is just fun. It's not important. Let me see. Acrylic. Let me see. I don't know what brand this is. Artist Loft. It doesn't have a color, but it's a real light beige. So I don't actually use white until the very, 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 very end. It might have been the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes that I did like white. I even did all the teeth. That's with a really light beige. That teeth, that white color, it's not white. It's beige. It's just it's like an off-white. And at the very end, you see the shadows, by the way, underneath the top lips, where those wrinkles are at. That's just a really light layer of black, like really watered down black. That's how I got that shadow there. And all the shadows everywhere, like in the neck, and those other areas that you see shadows. That's just a really light watered down black paint. Even on the top of the teeth, you'll see that be done in a little bit. See that orangey brown I'm adding there on the skin? That's just a really light brown. It's just watered down brown. Feels like I'm doing watercolor at this point. I'm even adding a little bit of that beige in there, but it's really watered down. It's not heavy paint. So in the beginning, I think what I was doing and what I suggest is just kind of add a real thick layer of acrylics. Just kind of block it in and put all the main colors, and then later on start blending it. But it does dry real quick, so it does help to have that layer of water underneath everything. Let me see, but yeah, at the very end, then I started getting the whites and stuff. I got the white acrylic out and I started adding all the little highlights and stuff. So this is kind of like, I guess you can consider it the fun part, doing all the painting, all the little details and stuff. But the main part, I still feel, is that the foundation, is all the sketching. That's the main part. All these other little details and stuff, and the painting and making it look real, I think it can just add to the likeness. But the main thing, the main priority should be the sketching. So if you're spending, and I'm always reminding myself, if I'm spending a lot of time painting and making it look real, but there's like no exaggerations and there's no time well spent in the sketching part, making sure there's exaggeration, making sure I'm creating a likeness through exaggeration, then it was just kind of like a waste of time. I'm just spending a lot of time painting something that doesn't really look like a caricature, or even might not even have likeness. But there I am spattering all the paint, and all the freckles were done with a paintbrush, just flickering it with the finger. So anyways, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.